What's going on, people, and welcome back to List Week. Yeah, List Week, baby, List Week. It's so exciting. Don't you love List Week? I love List Week. Today, we'll be going through the top 10 movies of 2023. I'm absolutely in love with the films I saw this year, and it was tough to make the list. But at the end of the day, I tried to pick stuff that I not only had fun with, but also had an emotional impact on me. So, without further ado, let's dive right on into it. You know, it's rare that a sequel is better than the original, but I think Twisters is absolutely a great example of that. I absolutely love Twisters. It's just dumb popcorn fun. I can't help but enjoy it. It's kind of the perfect throw on and have fun with your friends movie. And I don't think there's anything wrong with films being that way. I think sometimes, people look at a movie and they see it's not, very artsy or it's not super cinematic, but I find myself still encapsulated by fun like this. And that's why it kind of comes in at the start of my list. It wasn't one of my favorite films of the year, and I don't know, I just can't help but smile when I watch it. It's a fun movie. It's got some good performances despite its sort of campy premise. And I overall am excited to, have that film as this sort of easy go-to fun time to go through with friends. Yeah, that's all I really got to say. It's hard to pick specific stuff to say about Twisters, if I'm honest. I just enjoy it. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm a big fan of animation. I always have been. One of my favorite films of all time is The Iron Giant, and that obviously has an influence on my love for this film. I think The Wild Robot is fantastic. I also tend to like this idea of technology put in with nature. It's one of the reasons I really love the record Nurture by Porter Robinson, which if you haven't listened to, please go listen to it. I talked about it on my top 10 albums list, even though it didn't come out this year, because I can't shut up about Nurture. I really like it. But The Wild Robot is this nice, wholesome idea of this robot interacting with the forest around it and, different adventures it ends up going on with all these animals. And I just kind of loved it. It's such a simple premise. It's such a fun time for the family. And yet so much of what it is just so pure, if that makes sense. It's a pure, wholesome experience that's definitely going to pull your heartstrings a little bit and also sort of hit at these right moments. And I think it's a great movie for the whole family, and it's definitely a film that's going to stick with me for a while. I absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend you check it out.
Remember me.
Coming in at my number 8 spot is Furiosa. I love the Mad Max films, and while they're not like my favorites of all time, it's one of those franchises that I'm just always going to enjoy no matter what, even the ones that aren't as spectacular as some of the others. And this one's no exception. I absolutely loved Furiosa. I think Anya Taylor-Joy kills it in this film, and so does Chris Hemsworth, really flexing his range more than we've seen him do before. His zany villainy is absolutely fantastic and fits the psychotic world of Mad Max so well. I definitely find myself going back to Furiosa and finding new little details, and I think that's what makes George Miller such a good filmmaker. He can take these sort of grand scoping stories and great immaculate landscapes and add such little details to them that you'll find amazing stuff, because when you're caught in the awe of the moment, you won't notice all the beautiful little details he's put into it. And that's why Furiosa has landed in my top 10, and I highly recommend you check it out.
Impact event in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coming in at number 7, I have Alien Romulus. I'm a big Alien fan, and while I find a lot of fans didn't seem to like Romulus, I'm in the category of I really enjoyed it, but I definitely don't think it's the best Alien movie. I still think Alien and Aliens are better, but I think this is the best Alien film we've gotten in years, and it definitely makes me want to see more Alien films made in the vein of Romulus. These sort of ambient, small crew horror films that have nice action sequences, that are well choreographed, and that really make these, tense moments within the film heightened to a new level. They should use action to elevate the intensity of what the horror film has sort of put together, and Romulus does that brilliantly. I don't think it's held back by its cheesy callbacks and nice little moments. I think they're fun nods for fans, and even if they can pull some diehards out of the film, I found myself still able to enjoy it despite these moments. And I definitely think you should check it out if you're looking for some sci-fi horror, or if you're just looking for good sci-fi in general and can stomach the graphic and spooky nature of an Alien film. But yeah, highly recommend it. definitely check it out. And yeah, that's all I got to say, other than stay alert and don't get caught.
What did you do?
What I had to.
This one's probably a surprise for a lot of you, but it's true. I loved Sonic the Hedgehog 3. The Sonic films were sort of a guilty pleasure, if you will, for me. I liked some of the Sonic games growing up, especially Sonic Adventure 2, which probably affects how I feel about Sonic 3 since it's inspired by that. Or not even inspired, it's pretty much an adaptation. But to an extent, I think that Sonic 3, quote-unquote, locks in more than the other two films do. The other two were fun, campy, enjoyable family films that reference back to games I love, but Sonic 3, I feel, is genuinely a great film. It has incredible action set pieces, great humor, and a really heartfelt story that you wouldn't expect from a Sonic the Hedgehog film. It's really able to tug on your heartstrings and to hit those hard-hitting moments, especially for fans who aren't aware of the storyline from Sonic Adventure 2. And even if you do know the storyline from Sonic Adventure 2, you can still enjoy Sonic 3, because I knew all the beats, and I still found myself tearing up at certain parts. It's beautiful, it's amazing, it's incredible, and it's a testament to the fact that, franchises don't have to have these, dead movies deep down. The films don't have to get worse because, we're out of ideas. No, you can come up with a good idea, and you can keep pushing a franchise forward and keep delivering amazing stuff for an audience. And that is why Sonic 3 has definitely been one of my favorite films of the year. Coming in at number 5, starting off the top 5 on my list, is Nosferatu, which I just saw a few days before this, making this video, so I'm really happy I went and saw it because I absolutely adored it. I've always been a Robert Eggers fan. I think that his other horror films and movies like The Northman are fantastic, but don't hit as hard for me as Nosferatu. Something about his adaptation of the classic Dracula tale is fantastic, and it's probably my favorite adaptation of it. It's amazingly shot. The camera work in this film is just stunning. It's a tale we all kind of know to an extent, especially if you've seen the original film from the 1920s. And if you've seen other movies like Bram Stoker's Dracula, you'll notice some of the story beats. Yet despite that, I never found myself pulled out of the experience being like, oh, we're doing this part because it's Nosferatu. No, I found myself utterly engaged, and a lot of that is due to Eggers' vision. He is really able to paint this beautiful picture of this grim world in Germany in the 1800s. And this vampire story feels like a true vampire story. There's none of this sort of, is he good, is he evil, is he corrupt? He is just an evil vampire terrorizing this city, and is up to these people to try and stop him. It's a classic tale as old as time, but done beautifully and cinematically, and that's why I absolutely loved it.
Let's fucking go.
I know I'll get some comments probably saying like, oh, you're a Marvel fanboy, and that's probably a little bit true, but Deadpool always hits different for me. I grew up really, really loving Deadpool comics, and as much as I have general comic book knowledge, I tend to love Deadpool and Spider-Man a lot more than others. And I particularly love Deadpool because I grew up a big fan of the X-Men films that my dad loved. I loved those early 2000s X-Men movies and a lot of those Fox Marvel films. My dad was really into them, and they sort of introduced me to the Marvel world, along with things like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And the love and appreciation for that era of superhero films that this film has, along with having, possibly the best Deadpool ever, if not the best Deadpool ever in Ryan Reynolds, and the way that he's able to bring that character to the screen, it's unmatched. And this film, it pays such a beautiful homage while also being such a fun, comedic, gory romp that Deadpool should be. I was grinning ear to ear the whole time I watched this movie. And while it's not my favorite film of the year, I find myself emotional even talking about it because it feels like one of those movies that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have come to be, and yet here we are, in a world where this film exists. It makes me excited for the future of Marvel and superhero films, and it makes me believe that deep down, there is no superhero fatigue. There's just fatigue with bad movies. Kraven the Hunter. What? Did I cough or something? That's crazy. Let's move on. I saw this movie under the circumstances a lot of you might have, which was I saw that one guy on Twitter not shut up about it. And hey, his marketing strategy worked. I went and watched Transformers 1 because of that guy. And I gotta say, this movie's not getting enough credit. It's fantastic. When I reviewed it on the channel a few months back, I was sort of leaning on this idea of it's an actual good Transformers movie with a great plot and cool action. You should go see it. But having rewatched it a few times since then and watching it again in order to make this list, I find myself even more stunned that it's not getting it. There are lots of emotional beats and details that I missed the first time around, and that for a fun Transformers movie that for the most part was marketed at kids, it has a lot of depth to it. Depth that even certain Pixar and Disney films don't reach, and they're supposed to be the studio that's known for that. It's absolutely astounding how good this film is, and I highly recommend it if you love mechs, if you love Transformers, or even if the idea of Transformers sounds kind of vaguely interesting to you. It's an amazing movie. Great action set pieces, great plot lines and emotional moments, and the way it all blurs together is utterly fantastic and under the veil of beautiful animation. I highly recommend you check this film out. Please send it some love so that we can get more movies like this in the future.
漫画描いたせいで書いててよかったって思えた。書いても何も役に立たないのに。藤野ちゃん、部屋から出してくれてありがとう。
You know, this is one of those moments where I regret making grandiose standing statements in my previous videos. But I absolutely love Look Back, and at the time I'd said it was my film of the year, and I went through and rewatched all of these movies in order to be able to give you guys a good list. And looking back on it all, I found that a different film had beaten it out for number 1, but it was really, really close. And I found myself now regretting calling it that, but in the same way, I don't think I do. The reasons that I love my top 2 spots are both very different. But I find Look Back in another life, or even in this moment, could still be my number 1 movie. It flip-flops on the moment, and I decided to just pin things down like this. But if you've never seen Look Back, please do yourself a favor. If you have an Amazon Prime account and you haven't watched on Prime Video Look Back, please, I beg of you, watch it. It's not a long movie. It's about an hour, and it's utterly beautiful. I'm a huge Tatsuki Fujimoto fan. I love all of his manga. I love Chainsaw Man. I like Fire Punch. I like his short stories. I like Goodbye Eri. And Look Back is probably his most grounded, beautiful, and emotional tale that he has told. And if you want to get into his work, if you want to get into this sort of strange mind he has and see a beautiful, emotionally just powerful film that I get kind of choked up as I did in my review then, even thinking about Look Back right now, I highly recommend it. I almost want to say nothing about the plot other than it's about 2 best friends and the journey they have to go on in their life. I love it so much, and I restrained myself from saying anything about it because you should just go watch it. It's beautiful, it's stunning, it's impactful, and it deserves a lot more love than it's getting. So please go check it out.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
Long live the fighters. I absolutely loved Dune Part 2. I'm a huge fan of Frank Herbert's novel, and I also really like Dune Messiah. And I find myself sitting back now, fighting between Look Back and Dune as my favorite films of the year. I just couldn't resist putting Dune at number 1. It's such a cinematic masterpiece. It's so powerful. It's so palpable. The visuals are stunning. The performances from Timothy Chalamet, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler. I almost called him Austin Powers. Zendaya. The list goes on and on. I mean, even Javier Bardem, Lisan Al Gaib, right? It's just, this movie is so good. The set design, incredible. The costumes, unlike Rebecca Ferguson, for example, incredible. The design, every little detail, brings Dune's vivid and powerful world to life with a lesson that I think a lot of people could listen to. The power of putting everyone's trust into somebody, the letdown you can get from that, the tough decisions people have to make, and the crazed twists that go along with it. Political intrigue, sci-fi worlds, what's more to love? I think Dune Part 2 is one of those movies that will live on for years. It is our generation's Empire Strikes Back, a powerful film that sits with people in the sci-fi narrative and that will most certainly change the sci-fi landscape going forward. And as a lover of science fiction, I couldn't be more excited for that. So, what are your favorite films of the year? What impacted you the way these films impacted me? I'm hitting myself in the face. Sharing, liking, and commenting on this video really helps the channel, so please do that if you feel up to it. And let me know in the comments how you feel. If you hate my list, tell me. If you loved it, tell me. I love being able to spark conversation in the comments. It's what makes stuff like this so fun for me on a small channel. And yeah, as the channel grows, I won't be able to do that as much, so let's enjoy it while we can. Thank you all again for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. So much love, peace everybody, and take care. Bye-bye.